I will be doing a quick presentation on 2020. If you are a 2020 user, I'll just briefly show you the correct way to export that and import that into the dealer program as well. Because there is a very specific way it needs to be done in order for it to import correctly. Okay, so first we're going to go through the order types and their lead times, and then the order program. So first off, we have several different types of orders in our program. The first one is going to be our confirmed orders. Probably what you'll use most of the time, and this is when your order is 100% ready for production. So with confirmed orders, once it is submitted and reviewed, it will automatically go into production. You will not get confirmation paperwork back with these orders. So you'll want to make sure that everything is double checked, everything is accounted for, and you don't need to make any changes before you place that order, because once it's submitted, that's it. Confirmed orders will fall into the 5 to 8 week lead time. Once the order is submitted into production, there are no changes allowed. And then I mentioned this on Tuesday, but keep in mind, I like to harp on this. In order to submit your order, you will need to have a current finished sample with the serial number. The next type of order is going to be our regular orders. And this is what you will use if you want to receive confirmation paperwork back to review. So that's going to be the biggest difference between confirmed orders and regular orders. Regular orders, you will receive paperwork back. The paperwork will be sent to you, and you will have 5 business days from the time the order confirmation was sent to return it with any changes if needed. They fall into the same lead time, so regular orders will fall into that 5 to 8 week lead time, and then the same rules apply. Once it's submitted into production, there are no changes allowed, and you still need that serial number to place the order. And then the last difference between confirmed orders and regular orders is that if you are doing a custom cabinet, a true custom, so you've received a quote from customer service, you have an reference number, those can only be ordered in a regular order. We do not allow customs in our confirmed orders. So that's just something else to keep in the back of your mind when ordering. Next, we have our expedited service orders. So these are more commonly known as your ESOs. Lead times on ESOs are, my presentation says 10 business days. Right now, we're at 15 business days or less. And this is what you will use in order to order any parts that are required to finish an existing job, such as moldings, bumper pads, maybe you need an extra filler, things like that. There are a few restrictions with ESOs as far as there can only be up to 3 cabinets on an ESO and then no more than 10 items total. So these are for standard items only. So outsourced products, mullion doors, applied molding doors, all of those are excluded from this. And then lastly, you are limited to 2 ESOs per work order. Any additional ESOs after that could be subject to a 30% upcharge. Next, we have our rush orders. These are typically a lead time of 2 business days, and this is for under-ordered parts that are required to finish an existing order. These items must have been included on your original order. So standard products like bumper pads, shelves, hinges, guides, all of those can be ordered as a rush. We just ask that you order all of those at one time, again, so there are no unnecessary delays. And then there's also no cancellations or changes allowed with rush orders. Next is our warranty orders. Items that can be ordered as a warranty are replaced parts due to defects, order entry errors, and items that were ordered but maybe not shipped, or shipped but not delivered. There are several pages in our spec book that explains what is covered under warranty as far as warped doors, expansion, height restrictions, climate conditions. There are certain requirements that have to be met in order to place a warranty for those items. I like to tell our dealers, if you don't read anything else in the spec book, I would highly suggest reading the warranty section, those 6 or 7 pages that go over all of that information, just so that you as a dealer and us are on the same page. And then you can also relay that information to your client, and you and the client can be on the same page as well. And then lead times can vary on warranty orders just depending on the item itself. And last is our sample orders. Again, lead times on sample orders does vary, but usually it's 10 business days or less, just depending on the item. Standard marketing items like Evoke brochures, catalogs, color blocks, things like that will be ready to ship in 2 business days. Other items like a custom door sample might take a little bit longer. So if you ever have questions when ordering a sample, don't hesitate to reach out to customer service, and they can help answer those questions and help you get those items ordered as well. So next is the order program. There are technically 7 steps in the order program. I'm going to go through steps 1 through 3 with you live here in just a second, but I kind of wanted to walk you through all the steps so that you guys understood them. So first is going to be the order entry. That is step 1. This is where you input all of the information, the order specifications, your cabinets, go through the totals. You'll want to make sure all of your questions are answered and everything is accounted for before you proceed with ordering. Once you are ready to proceed, you will have to check your order, which is step 2. And this is where our order entry program will check the accuracy of your order with our check engine to make sure there are no errors or problems that have occurred. Once an order is checked and approved, it will be ready to submit, which is step 3, submitting your order. Submitting an order will send it directly to our system and notify our customer care specialist that you have submitted it. Once it's submitted, the order will then go into a review stage, which is step 4. And here, customer service will open your order and they will check it for shipping information, current sample serial number, customer information forms, make sure they don't see anything that's out of place. Once it's reviewed, your order will then go into step 5, which is where it will be released to production. Remember that depending on if you have a confirmed order or a regular order, that is the only step that could possibly go one of 2 ways. If it is a confirmed order, it will automatically go into step 5. If it is a regular order, after step 4, they're going to send you that confirmation paperwork back to review, change, do whatever you need to. You'll send it back to them, and then they will send it to step 5. So like I said, step 5 is where they will release it to production. After your order has been released to production, you will receive an estimated ship window, which will display next to your order. And this is step 6. And then step 7 is scheduling your delivery. So prior to delivery, you will be contacted to schedule a date and time. So let's look at these steps, or at least step 1 through 3 in a live order. This is a small bathroom that I drew up in 2020. And I'm going to show you how to manually enter this order. And then I'll show you how to import from 2020 as well. So I'll show you both ways in the order program. This is our order program. Once you log in, this should be the home page that you see. Over here on the right is our Evoke specification catalog that you can download. So this is the PDF version. If you haven't downloaded that, I mentioned this on Tuesday, but I would highly recommend doing that. There's also Evoke designer guides that you can access, our 2020 catalogs. So the most current and up-to-date catalogs will be here, as well as different Evoke forms as well. There is a settings tab up at the top where you can manage default values. You do need to be an admin in order to manage these values. But here you can add a default shipping addresses. So you can add default addresses here. You can add miscellaneous items, which we'll talk a little bit about here in a second. Your dealer logo, I'd highly recommend adding your dealer logo here so that it shows up on all of your reports. And then report defaults, so your dealer address and some other stuff that you can set. So you can go through there and see all of those, as well as managing your users. I have a lot of people call about their users, and those can be managed right here as well, but you do need to be an admin. And then the tabs you'll be using the most are over on the left. So you can see those here. Again, the projects tab is going to be what you'll use the most. This is where all of your active projects are kept. What I love about our program, when I was a dealer, I sold several different lines. And by far, the Evoke order program was the easiest for me to use. And I loved everything about it. But one of the main things was that it kept everything in folders. So as you can see here, you have a project name, we call them projects, but you have your project name. And then if you use this little drop down, you'll have all of your different orders within that project separated. You're only going to have different orders anytime there's a change in specification. So a change in door style, or maybe the door edge profile or color. Any type of change on the step 2 specifications is going to be a new order. So if the whole house that you're ordering is a white shaker, you're only going to have one order in here because you're going to order it all together. So like I said, drop down will show you your different orders. Each of your orders are going to have their own number with an A and B for suborders. You can have a description, PO number, customer name. Each order will have its own total. And then over here in the far right is going to be your ship window. So this is where your ship window will display once your order has been released to production. So you're not going to see it until it's been released to production. And then if we were running any promotions or discounts and they applied to your order, those will not show up here until your order has been reviewed by customer service to make sure that the promotion does apply. And then that information will be here once they've reviewed it. I like to point that out. If you're wondering why it's not showing up, if you've selected a promotion, that's why. If you're wanting to order an ESO or a warranty for any orders, this whole program, the right click button on your mouse is going to be your best friend. So anytime you can right click, so this is the kitchen perimeter, and I can't order it because I haven't actually placed this order. But if I had placed this order, I would be able to order an ESO or a warranty. You can also order a sample item. So let's just say this kitchen is a custom Sherwin-Williams color, and I know that I don't have a sample of it, so I need to get it ordered. I could right click and hit order sample, and it would automatically create a sample order for me where I could input the information to place that order. It would also keep it in this folder because I know that it's a sample for this order. So you can see here, there's different options. You can delete projects. So anytime you can delete a project, right click, delete project. This will delete the project permanently. You will not be able to recover it or access any of that information again. So it will delete it and it will be gone. If you don't want to delete a project, which you're not always going to want to do, we do have this archive option, which I loved. So I always liked having this really organized. I only liked having the projects that I knew I was working on in here. So at some point, when you're ordering, there's going to be a job that's finished. It's installed, it's done, you've been paid. You no longer need it sitting in this folder. If that's the case, you can archive that. So let's just say it's this one. You can right click and hit archive project and then hit yes. This will move it out of your active projects. So it'll move it out of here, so you don't have to keep looking at it, but it will keep it in your archive folder so that if any time the homeowner calls you and says, hey, I completely busted one of my doors, can you order me a new door? Or something happens, a shelf warped, anything. You can come in here, you still have access to their file, all of their information, and then you can place, if that's the case, you can right click, you can move it back to active by hitting yes. So right click, move back, yes. And now it will be back in your active projects. And from here, you can then order whatever you needed to order for that project. So that is how the archive button works. So hopefully I've covered this. So if you're placing a new order, you're going to want to hit Start New Project if you're manually entering. If you're a 2020 user and you're inputting from 2020, you're always going to want to start with this Import 2020, but I'll show you that here in a second. So Start New Project, and then we're going to go through these different tabs up top. So the first tab is going to be Projects and Order Info, and this is where you're going to input all of your information. So you're going to give your project a name. Again, I know every designer's different. When I was designing, my project name was always the last name of my homeowner and their address. So whatever works for you, that's how you will organize your projects. You can give the project a description. You don't have to. I never used to, but that's completely up to you. And then there's an order description. And the order description is where you can decipher what order this is. So because I'm showing you how to manually enter that master bathroom, I'm going to put master here. But I could put kitchen, I could put powder bath. Sometimes that doesn't work because maybe your kitchen, master, and powder are all one color, and then you're ordering other areas of the house in a different color. So maybe you put the color here instead. Eucalyptus, you could put the color here so that you know that this order is all of that color. So however you want to decipher the order, that's what will go here. Next is going to be the order type. So confirmed order, display order, regular, or sample. I'm going to do regular order for this. And then purchase order number. Again, if your accounting department requires numbers, this is where you can enter that number for each order. Does not have to be a number. It can be letters too. So again, when I was ordering, we didn't require numbers, so I used to just repeat the master again, but it does not have to, it can be either or, so whatever works for you. I will tell you that the purchase order number and the order description are what is printed on the shipping labels. So each box, when it gets delivered, will have its own shipping label, and on that shipping label, you will see the order description and the purchase order number, if that helps you decide what you want to put in those areas. Next is who's ordering it, so make sure it's on your name if you have a lot of designers in your company. And then the project type isn't a requirement, but you can fill out new construction or remodel if you want to. And then the freight rate and orders sale factor should automatically be in there. And then off to the right is going to be your customer information. So this is where you can fill out your information, and it will show up on the main screen as well. And then right here, I told you I'd show you where to put those promo codes in when we were talking about them on Tuesday, and that is right here. So if we are running a promotion, let's just say we were running a free paint promotion, promo code 4, you'll just use this drop down and select promo code 4, and that will give you your discount when you place the order. So always double check this. Make sure you have something entered if we are running promotions. Because customer service will not look at that and they will not enter that for you. I don't even think it gives them the option to change this and enter it for you. So make sure you look at that so that you don't miss out on those discounts. The next tab is going to be shipping information. So here is where you will select your where you want your order shipped to. We do offer to ship to the customer address. That is an option. However, there are other stipulations that go along with that. I think there's an additional fee, as well as there's a little paragraph in the spec book that explains it, but basically the road needs to be able to have access for a 53-foot semi. It needs to be paved, things like that. So it's good to look at that in the spec book if you are doing the customer address and make sure that you meet all the standards. The next tab is going to be the Documents tab. In this Documents tab, it is a drag and drop area, so you can drag and drop files into here. You can drop your floor plans into this section. Customer service will not look at the floor plans unless they have a question. So they are not going to cross-reference and make sure your order is accurate with the floor plans. If you upload them, they will only look at the floor plans if something comes up and they have a question on your order. So keep that in mind, but you can upload them here with each order if you want to. And then the other main reason you would be using the Documents tab is if you are doing a custom cabinet. So if you have asked for a quote and customer service has sent you the PDF document with the reference number and price, and you decide to go through with ordering it, you'll just need to drag and drop that PDF file into this area when placing that order. So that is the Documents tab. And then there's two more tabs, and these last two tabs are for your use only. We do not see the tabs, only you can see them. The first one is going to be miscellaneous. I'm going to try and explain this the best I can. So the miscellaneous tab is basically a way for you to add costs to your cabinets that are above and beyond the cabinet price, if that makes sense. So for instance, an example I always use is cabinet installation. When you get to the totals page, obviously we're not going to include the price to have the cabinets installed. It's just going to be the price of the cabinets. But maybe you want to include that in the price for your customer. So I'm going to check this box, cabinet install. I'm going to put a quantity of 1, and I'm just going to say it's going to be $1,500 to have these installed. Okay, so now that's in here, and this box is checked. And I'm going to show you how this comes into play in step 5. So just try and remember this, miscellaneous, in step 5. So again, anything can be added to this. You can add items. You could add cabinet hardware. You could add granite, lighting, plumbing, anything that's outside, above and beyond cabinets, and it will create an entire quote for you. So it's basically, we have a system in our order program that allows you to put together quotes for your customers. If you already have a system that you use for that, then you probably won't use this feature. But if not, this is a great feature that we have in our program that you can take advantage of. So we'll come back to this in step 5. And then the last one is notes. So again, just like a notebook, this will stay with your order throughout the entire thing. You could add any notes in here that you wanted to. Anything you want. Add note. If you let them borrow a sample, you can say client return sample. It'll have the date and time. You could say homeowner called and they changed the color of their island from white to blue. Anything, it keeps track, and that way other designers can see it, and you have it all listed right there. So again, just a feature for you guys. Once this is filled out, you're going to move on to step 2, which is your order specifications. Again, here's where I said if any one of these items changes throughout the process, you're going to need to start a new order. So if any of these changes from like one room to the next, it's going to be a new order. So something I love is that it is kind of a fail-safe system. So it's not going to allow you to choose something that is not available. What I mean by that is if I select alder, you're going to see my construction options are furniture board or plywood, which are the two options that are available. If I select one of the paint grade options, so I'm going to select craft wood. Now I have the option for the white interior in both the furniture board and plywood. But the white interior is not available for any of the stained wood species, which is why it didn't show up. So that's what I mean by it's not going to allow you to pick something that's not available. The same applies for door styles. Because I have craft wood selected, it's only going to give me my craft wood door styles that are available. The minute you change that, then you're going to have all different options. So anytime if you're not finding something, and I say this because I have made this mistake so many times, so it's not just new dealers, even people who have used this program for years, I still do it. I'll call Daniel and be like, it's not showing me my finish. Why is it not showing up? He's like, well, what wood species do you have selected? I'm like, yep, you're right. I'm sorry. So always refer back to this top one if you're not seeing what it is you're looking for. So next is going to be your construction. So furniture board or plywood, and then either with the white interior or not, depending on what you have selected. Next is your overlay. So concealed overlay or designer overlay. And then your top reveal. So on those wall and tall cabinets, you have your choice of a 1/4 inch or 3/4 inch top reveal. Next is going to be your finish. Again, on Tuesday, I mentioned the complex expressions finishes and how you can modify them. So this particular finish comes standard with all of these. I can hit modify and I can remove all of those distressings if I wanted to. If I just wanted the finish itself, you can remove all those. Or you can add different ones. I guess it won't let me remove that. You can add different ones. You can change your sheen from flat to satin. So you can modify that package if you want to. You'll notice anytime you are picking items, so it's because this is one of our modern classics, it's a 0% upcharge. It's going to automatically change the finish upcharge as you are selecting different items. So if I added a glaze, again, it's going to keep doing. So this will always reflect what you are choosing. And then you'll select your door style. And pick a different one. And then you'll select your edge on your door. So it gives you all your options. It also shows you pictures as you're selecting. And then your drawer front. So like I said, you can choose to have all slab drawer fronts. You can choose to have all 5-piece matching fronts. If you choose the 5-piece matching drawer fronts, that is where you have other options that are available. Maybe you want all of your top drawers to be slab, so you can select that. Or maybe all the small fronts, you want the narrow top and bottom rail. You can select that as well. If you choose one of these on accident, you can just hit no selection and it will go back to this. And then the last one is the drawer box detail. So if you want that standard birch drawer box or the upgraded beech. And then if you want drawer logos in the top drawers, you'll just select this box and it's going to tell you that the charges will apply where appropriate. So that is how you fill out this page. Pretty simple. One other thing I want to show you here is this favorite styles. So at any time, if you have something filled out that you use a lot of, for instance, a white shaker, if this was filled out for a white shaker, you could hit favorite styles. And then right here, save current selection. So if I click this box, I can now name this. I'm going to name it High Banks. I think that's the door I selected. So now that's saved. I can hit close. So if I come in here and I select one of my other ones, so this Shaker 3 that I had saved, I'm going to double click this. So double click and hit yes. And now it's filled out all of the information for what I had saved for that shaker. So that's how that favorite styles works. It's just a quicker way to fill all this information out. Once this is filled out, you'll move on to step 3, which is the line entry. So this is where you will enter all of your cabinets. There's different ways that you can search for cabinets. You can search by category. So I can hit base category. This will narrow it down to all of the cabinets in all of the base cabinets. You can then narrow it down further by size. I'll show you all the 15 inches. You'll notice as I'm hovering over the cabinets, it's showing me a picture and notes from the spec book. So you can see exactly what that cabinet looks like, and you know what you are selecting. The other way you can search for items is by keywords. It's one of my favorite ones. So I could type in spice, and it is going to show me any spice cabinet, any cabinet that has the word spice in the spec book. This works for any keyword you can think of. So if I typed in oven, if I spelled it right, oven, it's going to show me any oven cabinet out of the spec book. So again, that works for any keyword. And then, of course, the last one is going to be the nomenclature, which is going to be the easiest. So if you know the nomenclature, you'll just type that in. So because I'm entering that master bathroom I showed you, I know that it's a base vanity 15. And then here are my options. And I want this D3, the 3-drawer stack. To add this to my order, I'm just going to double click. So double click, and you'll notice that it adds it to my order. You will also notice that because I selected top drawer slab here as a global header, it is going to automatically add that modification to any cabinet that needs it by itself. So the program does that on its own. I don't have to worry about remembering or doing that or adding it myself. So to add a modification to a cabinet, again, like I mentioned earlier, right-clicking is going to be your best friend in this order program. So I'm going to right-click and hit Add Mod. This is going to pull up all of the modifications that are available for this particular cabinet. If you do not see the modification that you're wanting, it's going to be a custom cabinet. It's going to have to become custom, and you'll have to ask customer service for a specific quote. But there are tons of modifications for each cabinet that are available. So you can scroll through. If you know what your modification is, you can type it in. So I know because this cabinet was next to a wall, I'm going to do an ear left, also known as a extended style, either way. This would be instead of a filler. So ear left, I'm going to do a custom ear left. Again, to add it, double click. So after I double click, because it's custom, it's going to ask me how wide I want it. So I'm going to put a 1/2 inch. And now that is added down here with a price. So at this point, I could hit OK, and it would be added to the cabinet, or I could hit cancel, and it won't be added to the cabinet. Or I can add multiple modifications at one time. So you can add as many modifications that you need all at once and then hit OK, and they will all be applied to that cabinet instead of doing it one by one. You'll also notice in the Evoke line, any reduce dimension, so anytime you reduce a width, reduce height, or reduce depth, there is no charge. You can reduce up to a 1/16 of an inch for 0 charge. So when you are designing, I like to say this, when you're designing, if you know that you're needing a 14.5 inch cabinet, always size up, use a 15, and reduce that width for no charge. Don't do a 12 and increase the width, because you're going to be charged that $250 for that increase. So it's cheaper to size up and reduce down. So let's just say I'm going to add all of these. I'm going to hit OK. And now all of these modifications are attached to that cabinet. I do have 2 of these cabinets in my drawing. You can delete items. So if I don't want this reduce width anymore, I can right click and hit delete line and hit yes. So anything I'm doing is a right click, and then those are my options. We also have the option to copy cabinet. So because I have 2 of these in my drawing, I can hit right click and I can hit copy line and then yes, this will copy that exact cabinet with all of the modifications as well. And now I have 2 of those cabinets. We do not have the option to change the quantity of cabinets. So if I had 3 of these, I couldn't just change the quantity to 3. You will need to add it to your order 3 times. For cabinets themselves, we do allow you to change the quantities of molding. So any crown molding, toe, fillers, those kind of things, you can change the quantities on those, just not cabinets. Keep in mind when you're copying, like I said, it copies all of the modifications. Also, if this was a hinged door and it was hinged left and you copied it, you would not be able to change the hinge direction to right. You would need to come up here and replace the order with a right-hand hinge and then re-add the modifications. That's something that we're looking to change here in the near future with some of our updates. It's just not available right now. So the next item, we're going to do a base vanity sink base. So I do have a lot of designers, myself included, who when you're drawing, when you're placing the order and you're inputting the order, you have your drawing and you have all of your cabinets numbered from left to right and you're inputting them in that order. If that's the case, and something gets out of order, so for instance, the sink base is in between these 2 in my drawing, you can move line. So I can right click, move line, and I can move this to line number 2 and hit OK. And now it's in between these 2 cabinets. So you can adjust and move lines around as well. And then this column right here is for our standard finished ends. Just the standard finished ends with the 1/4 inch reveal. So if you are doing a standard finished end, you'll want to select from this drop down. I'm going to choose both and it will automatically adjust your price for you. But that is selected in this column right here. And like I said, it's just a drop down, neither, both, left, or right. If you are doing a more advanced finished end, like an applied end, a furniture end, flush end, those will be done in an actual modification. So you would need to hit add mod and then choose your applied end or your flushed end or anything. So like I said, this line is for the standard finished ends only. And then like I mentioned before, you can change the quantity of molding. So here maybe I want 3 pieces. I can change that quantity to 3 and it will do the calculations for me. And that goes for any type of molding. So just a few other little tricks. So this is that bathroom and it's entered. I want to show you just a couple other things. A lot of the times I know people order loose doors. That's one of the calls I get a lot. You would think if you typed in door, it would bring up a door. It doesn't. So trick to that is the word loose. If you type in loose, here you will see a loose door, no hinged, loose door hinge left, loose door hinge right, and then a loose drawer front. And then if you double click, you can enter how wide and how big you want that door, and it will give you your total. So that is how you will order any loose doors, drawer fronts, anything that you need like that, by typing in loose instead of door. Something else is appliances. If you have your appliance, I'm in trouble with oven today. If you have your appliance cabinet, the appliance is picked out, it does make this process easier because you'll notice when you add appliances to your order, I didn't click on it. it will automatically prompt you with the cutouts. When I was ordering, and I'm the biggest one to say this, but when I was ordering, my clients usually did not have their appliances picked at that time, or at least when I was quoting, they didn't have their appliances picked. So I used to always put in random numbers here. You'll know is not good because that can easily be forgotten that you've put in random numbers just for the quote. Unfortunately, right now, at some point, again, you'll be able to hit edit mod and you'll be able to edit this, but that is not an option right now. So when it comes time to placing the order, you would have to delete this cabinet and re-enter the cabinet with the appropriate cutouts. So keep that in mind. If you're entering, try and have those appliance cutouts ready just so you don't have to delete and re-enter. If I know that that's not always able to happen, so I totally get that. I'm right there with you. If that's the case, you can right click. So I used to right click and hit add edit comments and just put check specs and hit OK. This will make that line item bold so it stands out and it says check specs so that when you're going through making sure everything's accurate, you see that and you're like, oh crap, I needed to change those cutout specs, and then you can address the issue then. Adding that comment will also notify customer care if you place the order on accident, or if you place the order and you missed that and forgot about it, it'll notify customer service and they'll contact you and say, hey, you have check specs on this. What did you mean by that? So it will notify them as well. Anytime you add or edit a comment in here, when you place your order, those will show up with customer service and it will draw a red flag with them. So there is that option. Oh, and then last thing is customs. If you are doing a custom, I'd like to point this out too. We'll just type in custom, and then here it's custom quote cab. Double click, and this is where you can type in your reference number that they've given you and whatever cost they gave you for the cabinet. So it's that simple, and you'll hit OK. And now your custom is in here with the price. And if you were to place this, all you need to do is go back to this step and in the documents, drag and drop that file from them. So that is just some tips and tricks about our program. Oh, one other thing is this view features. So at any time you can right click on a cabinet and hit view features, and it will pull up features for that cabinet. So width, height, depth, how many volumes it is, the hinge direction, how many shelves, upper doors, lower doors, all of that information. So you can do that for any cabinet. So that is a nice feature as well. So that's how you'll place your order. This next step is adding a suborder. So this is only if you need to add, if this order was finished and you're done with it, you're ready to move forward, but you have to enter the island as well on a separate order. That's where this comes into play. So if I hit add suborder and hit yes, it's just going to take me back to the beginning, but it's going to create a suborder. So this is going to have the letter A behind it. So you can see it says A, hit OK. So it'll keep all of my information, but it'll allow me to do a new order description, a new PO number, a new promo code. And then new information. So now if I go back to, if I go back to projects, let me do that. Here's my project that we're working on. Hit the drop down. So here's that master. You can see that master bath. And then here's that suborder that I just created with the A behind it, the island. So that's how that suborder works. You can also create a suborder from here as well. So if I right click, if I right click here, you can create a suborder and create a suborder for regular, hit yes, and it's going to do the same thing. Now it'll have a B behind it. So you can do it from both places. So let's go back to this master and finish up here. So the next one after the suborders, if you don't need that, the next one is going to be the totals page. And this is where you can print the total of your cabinets. You're always going to want to hit display and refresh. And there's always going to be multiple pages down here to scroll through. So keep that in mind as you're scrolling through. And then the last page will have your information on it. So I love this because it does the style information. Again, if you had your company logo imported, your company logo will display right here. And then you can adjust how this looks. So you'll notice right now there's no line item pricing. And over on this last page is that miscellaneous item of the cabinet install. So that $1,500 cabinet install is now included in the total price of these cabinets. So if I was to print this out and hand this to my homeowner, they would have this cabinet install included. You can change this though. So this is estimate. I could change it to say invoice. I could take the miscellaneous item, this cabinet install off. So I could say no. And then I could say, yes, I do want the line item pricing. So I have that as yes. Always, if you change something, hit display and refresh. Now I have line item pricing. And if I go over to that last page, that cabinet install is gone and it just gives me the grand total. So the other thing with this, so you'll notice it shows your dealer multiplier here. Obviously, if you're printing this off for a homeowner, you're not going to want to show them, well, maybe you do, but you're not going to want to show them your dealer multiplier. You're probably going to have a markup on it, like most dealers. So if that's the case, in step 1, so here's the total. In step 1, right here, that is where you can edit what you want displayed on your quote. Now, when you place the order, it's going to be placed with your dealer multiplier. This is just for quoting purposes for your customer. So here, if I put in 45%, I guess, and I go back to the totals page, display and refresh, and I go to this last page. So now it's showing it with the markup. So it's still showing how much total, and then it's showing a discount to your homeowners and then a price. So it still to them looks like they're getting a discount. They don't have to know that your discount's more than that. So that is how it works. And again, if you have miscellaneous items, you can include those as well, and it will all be priced together as one. And then once you're ready, you have this how you want it. You can either hit print report from here or print here, save it as a PDF or print it out, and it'll be ready to go. Once you're done with this, let's just say you're ready to place this order. That's where you'll have to check the order first. And you can check an order from 2 different places. The first place is going to be within the order right here. So it's step 6. So if you hit that from here, it's going to bring up this check order screen. Here is where you will enter that serial number off of your sample. You'll want to check the customer finish and wood agreement. So go over this, make sure you agree, your homeowner agrees. You'll hit agree, and then you'll hit check order. This will generate the report. It will run it through our system and make sure that everything passed. If it says 7 items checked, 7 items passed, that means you are good to go, and you'll hit OK. This will take you back to the main projects page automatically. Give it a second. So now you'll see it says checked, ready to submit. So now maybe if I want to check this next one, I'm ready for this next one. You can also check your order from this main screen. So if I just clicked on just regular normal click, left click on the in progress here, it's going to prompt me with that same check order process. So again, you'll just need to enter the serial number, check your agreement, and then hit check order. If something was to fail, if something was to be warnings or fail, you'd be able to scroll down and it would tell you what failed so that you could go back and correct it. But as long as it says passed, you'll just hit OK. So you'll notice all of these say in progress while you're working on them, editing them, quoting them. They'll always say in progress until you've checked them and you're ready to submit. So once you've checked it, ready to submit, they'll turn to a light green and they'll let you know. And at this time, if you wanted to submit this order, again, you would just normal click, regular click, and it would say it's been approved. Do you want to submit this to Evoke? And then you would click yes. I'm not going to click yes because it really will send it to customer service and I don't want to confuse them. So I'm going to hit no, but you would just hit yes. And then this would change to a dark green and it would tell you it's been submitted. It would say submitted on it in a dark green. You'll also know once they've opened it because it will change to a dark blue and it will say in review. So you'll know they're reviewing it. And then again, once they've released it to production, it's going to change to an orange similar to this and it will say released to production. So you'll be able to follow it all the way through the process. So that I know was probably a lot, but that is our order entry program. For those of you who are 2020 users, quickly, we do have multiple catalogs. What I mean by that is they're all the same catalog, they're just copies. So you should be on RDHE 3, and then we have 3A and 3B. You can create more. You can create C, D, E, F. I think I used to have up to G when I was designing, but you can create more, but these are just copies. So this allows you to design all in one drawing using multiple catalogs for different finishes or door styles. And then when you export, it will automatically create those separate orders for you. So it does it on its own. So you'll notice my kitchen perimeter here is drawn in 3. The island is drawn in 3A. And then this little walk-up bar is drawn in 3B. So those are my 3 categories. You can also change the style and pricing here, and that will carry over to our program as well. So here, again, you have your 3 different categories. So my kitchen perimeter, you're going to go to catalog styles and then enter your specifications here. So your door style, I'm just going to select random stuff here. So your drawer front, and then your construction options. So your box construction, the standard or the beach with logos, without logos, your overlay, and then your door edge profile. And then your finish options. And your sheen color. So I filled that out for one of my catalogs. I'm not going to fill it out for these other 2 because I'm going to show you what it does in the order program, but I'm just going to fill it out for this one. But for those of you who are wondering, now if I go to a perspective view for your homeowner, now it's going to show that finish on that catalog. So if I was selected the different finishes for the other catalogs, they would show them as well. So it just allows you to do that with the door styles and the finishes. So once you have this ready, that's when you're going to export this correctly. So to export it correctly, you're going to go to presentations. And then you're going to hit reports. A lot of people want to choose this export to CSV, and that is not accurate. So don't do that. You're going to hit reports. From there, this dialog box, you're going to hit quote. and then select OK. So quote OK, and this will bring up a second dialog box, and this is where there are two very important things to have selected. The first one's going to be your nomenclature, and that needs to be on all. And then under pricing, all 5 of these need to be selected. If those 2 things aren't done, it will not import correctly. It might import, but it will mess it up. So maybe all of your modifications that you've added won't show up, or they won't transfer, things like that. So always make sure that those 2 items are done so that it does it accurately. Once that's done, hit view, and this will generate your report. Which will look like this, and it will automatically divide it into your separate orders. So once you have that, you'll hit export up at the top, and that is where you will choose CSV format, and then hit export again and save it. Wherever you need to save it on your computer. And then when you're done, when you're finished, you hit close. So I know it seems like a lot at first, but you'll get the hang of it really. After you do it 3 or 4 times, it comes natural. So it's just reports, quote, OK, and then make sure all selected and all 5, hit view. It'll bring up that report. You'll hit export up at the top right here, and then you'll choose CSV format and hit export. So once that's done, when you import, you'll hit import 2020. You'll give it a name. Double click, and it will start the import process automatically. When it's finished importing, it will automatically take you back to that projects page. Oops. So here's that import, and if I use that drop down, you can see my 3 different catalogs that I used are automatically broken into 3 separate orders. So all you have to do now is go into it. This was the kitchen perimeter. You have to select an order type, fill out your information, and you'll see everything that I selected in 2020 transferred over. So that was good. I must have missed that drawer front on accident. I know that I did. And then when you go to your line entry, everything's there, as well as all your modifications as well. So you can still edit this if you need to. So you can still add finished ends, delete, add. It's not like it's set in stone just because you imported it from 2020. You can still edit it. It just gives you a baseline to go off of. And then you'll be able to go to your totals page and get your totals. And now I have this order, my total, and all of that. And you would just repeat the steps for the other areas. But you'll notice this isn't filled out because I didn't fill it out in 2020. So if you don't fill it out in 2020, then you just fill it out here in the order program. But it will transfer over. So that is how you import from 2020. Okay, so I showed you designing with multiple catalogs for those of you who are 2020 users. Sorry, I know that the order program is a lot. So we're just going to go through a few other things, vanity platforms, accessories, and custom cabinets. So we do have a vanity platform program in our Evoke line. Great way to make any vanity cabinet or tall cabinet look more like a furniture piece by just adding a simple vanity platform. It can be added to any base, vanity, or tall cabinet. There are 7 different style options to choose from, and then each of those style options has 3 edge profiles to select from. Um, it's like I said, great way to add character, dresses up a space without breaking the budget. So always keep those in mind if you want something different. And then as you start using our line more, becoming more familiar with it, you'll really start to be able to take advantage of all of the accessories that we offer. And it can really help create a more custom space for your clients. So a few of the ones that are really popular is our knife block and utensil pullout. I sold this a ton. Um, I know that we're in a time right now where people like everything off the counter, minimalist, clean. It's great option for those. Put those knives in a drawer, all the utensils in a drawer, next to the cooktop, and have everything off of the counter. So this is a great one. Obviously, the rollouts are super popular, so we do have that option. You can do 1 rollout in a cabinet or 2. So you can choose between 1 or 2. And then we have our drawer peg system, which is great for dinnerware, Tupperware, any type of organization. Um, they custom, if you add that to a drawer stack, it'll be custom fit to that drawer. And then the tip out trays, I did the sink or the cooktops. These come in plastic or metal, so you have 2 options there. So it's a great feature as well. And then we also have our pull-out tray dividers. So depending on how wide the cabinet is will depend on how many trays, but especially for those bakers, if you're working with a baker or someone who loves to cook, and you have all those trays, it actually pulls out and you can go through it instead of shoving baking sheets in that cabinet and trying to figure out what you have. The pop-up mixers, I think, get overlooked a lot. Again, if you're working with someone who says they've mentioned they like to cook or bake, I always used to point this out because I had a few people that were so happy that they did it. You know, those mixers are not light, they are heavy, and they usually sit on the little corner on the cabinet or on the countertop taking up space, or they're in the pantry and you have to get them in and out, or in a lower cabinet. So this is just a great way. It pops up, they can use it, and it pops back down. And then there's also storage space below it as well for all of the accessories. We all know those corner cabinets can be tricky. So we do have the Le Mans corner organizers that pull out so you can really maximize that storage. And then, of course, the pull-out trash cans. They come in single with 15 inches wide or double for 18 inches wide. And then there's lots of different options in our spec book as far as with single drawer, with the drawer above, all different options. And then again, floating shelves are really popular right now. So we have a lot of different floating shelves, a lot of different widths available with these floating shelves. And then it's a great feature because they'll match your finish exactly. They are very sturdy, but this is a great feature as well. And then we also have custom cabinets. Any cabinet can be a custom cabinet. So what is considered a custom, if you're wondering? A custom is going to be any cabinet that you cannot create using the modifications that are allowed. So if you cannot create what you're wanting with the modifications, then it's probably going to be a custom. With customs, we just ask that you give as many dimensions as possible, be as specific as possible, and draw a sketch, whether that's pencil to paper, an AutoCAD drawing, a 2020 drawing, anything. Even a photo, and you've written all over exactly what you want. Like the saying goes, a photo speaks 1,000 words. We just need some type of visual so that we can quote you accurately, and we can also draw it up for you accurately as well. So like you can see here in this picture, this is a custom range hood that we did. There is a custom fee with each custom cabinet. I don't know what that fee is. I think it's like 436. It's somewhere in that range. But customs do have an additional fee with them. These are just a few of the customs that we've done. This was a custom vanity. They told us they wanted a working table with 2 working drawers and 1 false front. So you can see that here. Style F leg, barnyard red, and they had a drawing attached. This was another custom, something you can't create using the modifications, staining and taking the panel out of that middle drawer. This was one of my favorite customs. This is a custom vanity, and a lot of people don't know that we do angled doors. So they added an angle on this cabinet for the angled doors, and then they also added a custom accessory, which was the touch latches. So all of these doors and drawers have touch latches where you touch them and they open. So you can really get creative with customs, and I say sky's the limit. If you can think of it and send it in, we will tell you if we can do it or not, but we do get really custom. Like I mentioned before, though, there is a fee with the custom cabinets. Sometimes, not all of the time, you can get around it. So this was a kitchen that I did for a client. She saw this on Pinterest, and that is all she wanted. She's like, I don't care about anything else. I just want my upper doors stained to match my island and my hood. And I was like, okay, well, that is not something I can do without it becoming custom. And I was like, but let me think about it. So I did find a way around it. I ordered a CWC. She didn't want to pay the custom fee. So I ordered a CWC, which was a combination wall cabinet with no upper doors. And then the finished interior, no doors upper. And then on a separate order with the island, I ordered a loose door hinge left, loose door hinge right, and the mullion colonial inserts. Now, there was an additional fee for the trim carpenters to install those doors on site because they do not come attached. They shipped separate, but not nearly as much as what it would have cost to have paid for a custom cabinet for all of those cabinets. So like I said, you're not always going to be able to find a workaround, but sometimes if you take a step back or ask a coworker or try and think outside of the box, every now and again you can find different workarounds instead of ordering a custom cabinet, like maybe turning a wall cabinet on its side and flushing a side as the top for benches, just different things like that. Also, floating vanities. I have a lot of people think that floating vanities are more expensive for some reason. This was a floating vanity that I ordered quite often, and you'll notice that I say almost all of the modifications except for one were zero charge. So it really doesn't cost any more money. You just have to find the loopholes. For instance, the 2-drawer stack gives you more space when you're making the cabinet. We do not have at the time, we did not have a 2-drawer vanity cabinet. We only had a regular base cabinet. So I ordered a standard base 24 D2. Again, at the time, 24 was the lowest width. I believe 18, you can go as low as 18 now, but it was 24. So I ordered a 24. I reduced the depth to 21 so it matched the vanity, reduced the height to 27.25, reduced the width to 18, and added no toe kick. All of those were zero cost. Repeated that with the vanity full door, reducing the height, no toe kick, and then did the same thing over here. The only difference was I added a custom ear next to the wall. So no additional money except for the ear and the finished end. So you really can get creative with spaces. This was same concept as the floating vanity, just making it more of a furniture piece. So same concept all here. I just added legs. Obviously, the legs are going to be more money. I think they all are, but it just gave it a whole different look. Keep in mind, I like to point this out, when you are doing any type of floating vanity or floating cabinet in general, where you're removing the toe kick, remember that you're going to want to reduce the height before you remove the toe kick. What I mean by that is that I wanted the cabinet to line up with the face, the flat part of the leg, which was 22 3/4. So I reduced the height to 27 1/4 because when you remove the toe kick, it'll remove an additional 4.5 inches off the cabinet. So if I would have reduced the height to the 22 3/4 and had the no toe kick, it would have made it 4.5 inches less, if that makes sense. So just something to think about when you're removing toe kick. Make sure you've reduced the height and you've incorporated the toe kick as well so that it matches. And then we also have wood tops, something that a lot of people look over or it gets missed in the spec book. So we do have two options for wood tops. We have the 3/4 inch and the 1.5 inch. The WT consists of the 3/4 inch veneer plywood, and it'll have your options of 3/4, 1 inch, or 1.5 inch nosing. And then the WT 1.5 consists of two 3/4 inch veneer plywood panels sandwiched together to form that 1.5 inch thick panel. And then obviously your only option for edge banding on that is the 1.5 inch nosing. And then the spec book does a really good job of explaining how to enter these wood tops in the order program as far as length, width, your overhangs, if it's next to a wall, how to calculate all of that. And then here are all of the different edge options that are available for those wood tops. And then the last item that I like to discuss is appliance panels. I know how frustrating appliance panels can be. Maybe they're not for everyone, but they were for me and several designers that I've talked to. So great way to make a space feel a lot more custom. We do not have an actual appliance panel nomenclature. If you want an appliance panel, you'll just order a loose door, no hinge, or a loose drawer front if your appliance has a drawer. They can be custom, so you can see here, this had custom panels on it that I did. You can also do them prepped for appliance panels prepped for glass, for those glass appliances as well. So this again was a custom because I needed a specific rail width for the rails and styles for that appliance. But again, you're just going to order either a loose door or a loose drawer front. One thing I like to point out, so if I can save one other person from this, then I've succeeded, is that always keep a lookout for what the appliance company has as their standard toe kick. A lot of the German companies use a 4-inch, or I say Germany, a lot of the European companies use a 4-inch standard toe kick. This, for instance, is out of a Sub-Zero spec book. Sub-Zero is very popular with the appliances, and they do, in a lot of their specs, use a 4-inch toe kick. Remember that our toe kick is 4.5. I didn't notice that when I placed my first order, so all of my appliance panels hung down a 1/2 inch. I told the homeowner, I was like, I'll replace all of these for you. I'm so sorry. That was my mistake. I did not realize. And she was like, don't worry about it. I would have never noticed. It doesn't bother me, and I don't want you to replace them. So she was really cool about it, and I lucked out my first time. But I never made that mistake again. So I always checked, make sure that the toe kick either displayed 4-inch or 4.5 so that I could do the math correctly and make sure that the appliance panel was accurate. So just something to keep an eye out on that you wouldn't necessarily think about. So that's it for the second half of our Evoke training. I know that was a lot. Do you guys have any questions? Look like there's a few questions on the order program or Anything that we discussed?